Hi, dear listener. Welcome to the Young Changemakers podcast, an initiative from Global Changemakers. Your co-hosts, Sophie, George, and William are very happy to have you join us today. Over this first season, we'll show you the incredible impact of youth and hopefully inspire you to take action too. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you're ready, let's go!
Hi guys, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Young Changemakers podcast series. I'm your co-host, George Chapman, and I guess Merry Christmas to everyone out there. I don't know where you're tuning in from, but so far we've got around 800 listeners from a total of 73 countries. So thanks for your support and supporting this initiative, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I guess the diversity in the audience that we've reached globally shows just how much all these issues that we're touching on mean to individuals and communities, no matter where you are in the world. The issues such as human rights, safe climate, fair access to food and nutrition, and decent work and employment opportunities. These are all issues that unite humans globally to want to solve. And I think as we're coming into Christmas, it's a good time to reflect and then understand just how your motives and the way you think about this complex yet exciting world can create social positive change in your communities. So today I'll be interviewing Maureen Muketha, she's a Kenyan friend of mine, and Maureen is a Sustainable Development Goal 2 advocate and a passionate nutritionist. So Maureen, she did her training at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology here in Kenya, and she's a big believer in good nutrition practices and a resilient food system. She also believes that no human should die of hunger or non-communicable diseases such as hypertension and diabetes. So to solve this issue, she founded a community-based organization called Tule Vyema, a Swahili word for let's eat right. The organization raises awareness of proper nutrition practices in communities to eliminate incidences of malnutrition. So Tule Vyema engages communities through information sessions and teaching young, often unemployed women to cultivate and farm through the use of sack farming or vertical vegetable farming for local and household consumption. And any surplus they have, they can sell to meet their household needs. So, this is a topic I'm also heavily interested and engaged in around food security and optimal nutrition, given that the world's population is going to reach 9.1 billion by 2050. There's a huge concern around how we're going to get fair access to food globally. And that's something I'll be talking in depth with Maureen about today. So I hope you enjoy this podcast and all have an excellent new year. So hi Maureen, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Young Changemakers podcast. I'm very excited to have you here today.
Hi George, thank you for having me.
So Maureen, you've had an excellent week, I hear. You've just graduated and you're finally a certified nutritionist. And that's excellent news because we're heading into Christmas and I'm sure you'll be able to have a bit of a celebration.
Yes, I got my license, my practicing license, and it's great news. It's been a journey, but I am really excited that I am now I finally now have my practicing license. So thank you so much.
Yeah, congratulations. And for our listeners out there, Maureen and I met back at the Global Youth Summit in July of this year. And it was terrific meeting Maureen because I myself have spent a lot of time in Kenya where my parents live. And so it's great connecting with a fellow Kenyan. And for you, Maureen, it was your second time at the Global Youth Summit. Can you just explain, and this time you're a peer facilitator. Can you just explain your journey and how you became a global change maker and a part of that network?
Okay, so I attended the Global Youth Summit in 2016, and when I attended in 2016, I was a participant. I really liked the structure of the program and the amazing young people I met. I must say it was a very interesting and mind-blowing 1 week for me. Um, I really learned a lot about what has helped me put my organization up to where it is right now. And I thought that since I really gained a lot of skills and even knowledge, it was good for me to come back now as a facilitator. And that's when I met you, George, and you and other amazing change makers.
Yeah, no, it was a terrific week. The opportunity to meet 60 young people from all over the world, all focusing on making a difference in their communities. Yeah, I
Mhm.
thoroughly enjoyed it. It'll be something I'll look back on in years to come. So, Maureen, I'd like to get to understand your journey and how you got in the work of addressing nutrition and malnutrition, and in particular food security. I think a good way to get us going would be to explain your upbringing in Kenya, and how that journey was created.
Okay, thank you for such a good question. So I grew up in Kenya and I have my roots in Tharaka Nithi, which is one of the 47 counties in Kenya. So Tharaka Nithi is a fairly arid area. So growing up, I saw women and children hardest hit by malnutrition. Food there is, I'd say food there is scarce because of rainfall. So I have seen women making hard decisions of who will eat at a particular mealtime and who will not eat at a particular mealtime. So this really disturbed me, and I thought again, if if I am to create if I am to change the narrative, I thought the best way was to first start off by doing a bachelor's degree in nutrition so that I'm able to understand how to even change this narrative. So that's what actually led me into studying nutrition for my degree.
Well, that's incredible that at a young age you identified. I mean, just being able to take in an issue as large as hunger, and why this education for women and youth is so important.
Okay. So it's Tule Vyema, and Tule Vyema is a Swahili word for let's eat right. Tule is let's eat, and then Vyema is right. So Tule Vyema is an organization that raises awareness of proper feeding practices in the communities, and we work with young women, and we work with young women of reproductive age, and so how we raise awareness of these proper feeding practices is through holding nutrition health talks. We also teach and train the young women how to cultivate indigenous vegetables on gummy bags or sacks. And we also hold deworming drives for children up to the age of 12. So maybe I should explain more why we work with women. Women are the ones who are in charge of the kitchen. And once you educate a woman on the importance of eating well and what eating well entails, she'll be able to apply that back at home. And as they say, women are they are very talkative people. So whatever she learns in class through the nutrition health talks we have, she will, in one way or another, she will share the knowledge that she has acquired with her friends, and that is how the knowledge will cascade down to other people. Again, why the young women is because they the young women of reproductive age is because iron is a nutrient it's a micronutrient, and it's a nutrient of concern among these women. And why it's a nutrient of concern is because women tend to lose blood through their monthly menses, and if they're not able to find um, rich sources of iron from the food they consume, and iron is a very important nutrients in the body, they will not be as productive as they are required to be. So they'll not even be able to work and find food for their families, which again exposes them more to other nutrition disorders and also food insecurity, because if you're not working, food also will be affected.
Wow. Yeah. And it sounds like Tule Vyema there is, and your initiative is really targeting the issue of hunger at the root cause. I mean, you've identified education as number one, and then as a nutritionist, you're going into what deficiencies are actually there in the diet and then addressing that. So that sounds incredible. Maureen, I want to take the conversation this week, and I guess a lot of our listeners, everyone's aware that climate change is back on our consciousness. So I thought now it would be a good opportunity to say, how is this issue of food insecurity it's spreading globally, and I think it can be contributed directly to climate change and the issue of desertification and the like. So I thought I might just share a quick video, and it's about earlier in this year, thousands of Kenyan faced starvation up in Turkana, which is in the northeast, am I right, of Kenya?
Yes.
So I'll just play this video and then we can discuss about this situation.
They're carrying emergency food supplies to help thousands of Kenyans on the brink of starvation. The construction worker lives in the administrative capital, Lodwar, but he's not faring much better than villagers in remote areas. Back home, as he works out his family's weekly budget, Moses reckons he'll need to make at least $10 to buy basic food supplies. On a good day, he'll earn that on building sites, but those days are increasingly few and far between.
Life has become so difficult. The drought has made things even harder. This time last year, we could get jobs more frequently than now.
It's tough for everyone, no matter where they live.
Commodity prices across the country have gone up in the last few years, but it's worse in areas like this because traders buy their goods from other far-off regions and then mark up their costs to make their margin.
1 in 3 Kenyans don't have enough to eat, reported a global hunger index last year. Some agricultural experts estimate African farmers suffer $48 billion of losses to their harvests every year. Kenyan farmers lose $500 million.
What needs to be done is to synchronize policies that actually help to drive the entire global value chain and make the agricultural sector the engine of development. Because the agricultural sector is the only sector that can be able to reduce poverty 2 to 4 times more effective than any other sector.
One of the top priorities for government leaders is ensuring all Kenyans have enough to eat. But critics say corruption and mismanagement of funds meant for development projects has made this difficult to achieve. This governor tells us he's trying the best he can with limited resources.
One thing that we're focusing on now is to set aside land to commercialize. And this is a discussion we'll be having with the farmers and the people living in those areas. Set aside land to commercialize, where we will invite the private sector to come and do commercial irrigation using new technology, with the hope of increasing food availability.
Government workers maintain there's enough food for those in drought-affected areas, but many Kenyans want more to be done to make sure that no one goes to bed hungry. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Turkana, northwestern Kenya.
Yeah, and I was watching the video here myself, and the situation just visually is quite dire. So I guess there's some take-home messages there and some issues we can move the conversation towards, Maureen. Personally, I think it comes back to agriculture and access to land. Climate change is increasing desertification, especially in arid regions in northwest Kenya. What do you think what do you think the solutions are? Should they be relocating to more high rainfall zones, or should they be relying on food resources from the government? How do you think we should tackle crises like this in Turkana?
Wow. First of all, I don't think they should relocate because that is where those people have been born and brought up. That's the place they call home.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's been raining like in all parts of Kenya. My question is, and I keep asking myself this question, I think we should all have water harvesting techniques, because the amount of water that has gone down the drain the past like 2 months when we've had really heavy rainfall, that is water that would have been collected, would have been harvested and used to cultivate. Another way I think we can address this problem is by cultivating drought-resistant crops. I'll give an example. We have crop species which are resistant to drought. So this means they don't require a lot of rainfall, just minimal rainfall, and they do well. An example is like the Katumani type of maize. We have millet and other crops that do not require very large amounts of rainfall. So I think these are the crops that should be cultivated there. Turkana, yes, it's a dry area, but you see what happens is that, which is also another challenge that we are facing in addressing food security, is everybody wants to cultivate cash crops. And you see cash crops, in as much as they bring, they give us money, not all cash crops do well in, especially I'm not sure there's any cash crop that would do very well in Turkana, but you see if they cultivate food crops that can grow well in Turkana and even sell, because it's a diverse country and what is found in one area is not found in another area, so they can maximize on the food crops that do very well in their area and also sell to other areas, and so that they're able to buy other food stuff. So I think we should embrace the type of climate that is in specific areas and work with the type of crops that do well in such areas.
Sure.
But wanting to grow crops that require very large amounts of rainfall in such an area would be doing injustice to ourselves. I also think they should be educated and equipped more on such techniques.
Definitely. Last week I took a course, Organic Agriculture, run by the Kenyan Organic Agriculture Network, and I saw a lot of hope coming out of that course. There were farmers there and amongst that network who are really moving towards new agriculture techniques that are really at the forefront, such as intercropping, using swales on the edge of hills to capture more water more efficiently and reduce the water runoff, and sort of more regenerative and ecological farming practices, such as applying fertilizer direct at the seed, and all these new practices which I think are overlooked and could possibly increase that water infiltration into the soil, because every 1% of organic matter you increase in the soil, that's 8% more water absorbed. So a simple change in practices, has massive impact on that water infiltration. I've got another question going back to nutrition. You touched on a lot of Kenya's rapid population increase, and we're seeing a bit more of a rising middle class here in Kenya. And a result, I see a trend towards more convenience or fast food choices, such as KFC is popping up around here in Nairobi. I mean, KFC is delicious chicken, don't get me wrong, but it's not so good for our health. How do you think we can reevaluate our food choices and educate Kenyans on the appropriate nutrition?
I think the first step would be to equip ourselves with knowledge. And as you've said, this convenience, these fast food restaurants are not bad. What I usually say is, how much or what quantity are you consuming? So if we equip our society with what these kinds of foods do to our systems once we are regular consumers of these foods, we'll be able to reduce the consumption, and also not just say these foods are not good, but also provide a solution. A challenge that most Kenyans are having is nowadays people don't have enough time to cook because they're usually working they leave their houses very early in the morning, come back very late, and I mean someone is very tired to cook. So how you can address this is maybe through the weekend, you try and prepare food, which if you have access to something like a refrigerator, you store the food such that once you just come back from work, you warm the food and eat the food. And also, I usually say every time, actually not me, but there's a saying that says every time you eat, it's an opportunity for you to nourish your body. You might not access good food or healthy food all the time, but the little or the very few instances you have access to good food, and good food, I mean a varied diet, a diversified diet which has carbohydrates, proteins, fat, proteins, vegetables and fruits, you maximize. So I am sure out of 7 days, somebody can access food, really good food, really healthy food, even 5 or 3 times. So those few times you're able to access, or you have an opportunity to make a decision between whole foods or non-processed foods versus processed foods, please go for the unprocessed foods. Yes, so I think if we equip ourselves with the knowledge and what these processed foods do to our bodies, we'll be able to make better decisions. And actually, over 50% of the total hospital admissions are as a result of non-communicable diseases. And these non-communicable diseases are like the diabetes, hypertension, which are partly attributed to our feeding practices. So as much as possible, I mean, we at one point or another, I'm sure you have a decision to make between good, healthy food and processed foods. The processed food, of course, is the most convenient, but are you nourishing your body, or you'll just enjoy the taste of the food, which food doesn't even take that long in your mouth? So yeah, I think if you're equipped with knowledge, you'll be able to make more informed decisions.
Definitely. I mean, there's that saying, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. I love that one. Yeah. It's interesting you touch on, like, I think Kenyans are quite excellent in they have a rich and diverse diet. A lot of people, I mean, 80% of the world's farmers are self-subsistent, and that's pretty much the same here in Kenya. So a lot of communities are, growing their own food near their homes. So I think as the rising middle class and more access to heavily processed foods, that's an issue. But if we can encourage, continuing to go to local farmers markets and access that rich diversity. And as soon as you step in a supermarket, I mean, everything's highly processed. And that's when you're accessing food that's coming from more of an industrial agricultural model, which has been...
I've just remembered I'm just trying to emphasize on the importance of having knowledge on nutrition, just even basic nutrition knowledge. I met a lady, this was about 5 months ago, and she was telling me that she grows pumpkin and arrowroots. So, and she was telling me her children don't like the pumpkins and arrowroots. So what she does is that she sells the pumpkin and arrowroots so that she can be able to buy her children bread. Bread is not bad, but what kind of bread is she buying? She sells these tubers to buy her children white bread, which they enjoy. I partly understood where she's coming from. I mean, she's a mother. She wants to make her children, she wants to give her children the best. But you see, she's selling nutritious food to give her children food that is not nutritious. Once I helped her understand what the arrowroot and the pumpkin have that the bread do not have, she appreciated the importance of these tubers, and not just because there's a notion that these are healthy foods, but she knows what kind of nutrients she's getting from them, and she's also able to explain to her children why they are now gradually changing from consumption of white bread every day to now consuming the pumpkin and the arrowroot. So I think knowledge and information has a very big role to play.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if at a young age, if you educate youth, I mean, once they get that addiction to sugar, I think there's like no turning back. I know myself
Yeah.
included. As soon as growing up, I played a lot of sport, and I think my body was craving good nutrition. But it was crazy back in Australia. You know, you get man of the match at your soccer game, and do you know what they gave us? They gave us a McDonald's. Sort of free McDonald's McHappy meal, and you could run off to the nearest McDonald's. So I think now things have changed, but just once you educate households on the importance of accurate nutrition, I think your body starts to understand and crave what it really needs. Maureen, we're going to take a bit of a jump here back to your area and your work, part of your life in sort of activism and empowerment of communities. What do you think have been sort of the biggest major setbacks in your work, and how do you suppose to overcome these areas? What would be some of your advice?
Some of the biggest setbacks I have encountered is people tend to think eating a nutritious meal, adopting a healthy lifestyle is a very expensive way of living, which essentially is not. I'll give an example of a local food in Kenya here we call githeri, which is just a mixture of maize and beans. So maize is carbohydrate, beans is protein. If you cook that meal with a vegetable like cabbage or even indigenous vegetables like what the Tule Vyema women grow, like I'll give an example of maybe terere, and you eat a fruit like a banana, you have already had a balanced diet. You have already eaten a diversified diet. So that's one major challenge that we are facing is when you're telling somebody about eating a diversified diet, eating a balanced diet all through, not just for a certain period of time, they tend to say, but I mean, that is a very expensive lifestyle. But until you break it down for them and tell them what are the available sources of these carbohydrates you're vouching for, what are the available sources for these proteins you're vouching for the vitamins and minerals, they are now able to say, it's not as expensive as we thought. So, and then the other challenge that we have had is very many women want to be a part of the Tule Vyema project, which is the cultivation of the indigenous vegetables, because they cultivate these vegetables for their consumption and then they sell the surplus. Since we help them set up 4 different types of vegetables. So, and since our women stay where they live, so the property owners do not want sacks in their property. So because they say unfortunately they say they're unsightly, them not understanding or ignoring the benefit that these vegetables have. So we have had to leave some women behind because they do not have spaces where they can set up these vegetables. But also, we have also seen them partnering up and saying, look, if you've not been allowed to set up these sacks, you can set up I can talk to my landowner and see if they can allow me, and you can set up your sacks there. So that it's I must say, George, it's very sad when you see a young lady who's very interested in a project, but she has nowhere to put this yummy bags.
Yeah, I mean the vertical farms are an excellent way to grow a lot of produce in a small amount of area. It's a shame that some landowners aren't accepting that. Hopefully, if you can communicate to them, and I mean, just thinking out loud here, maybe if they could get a reduced access to the vegetables, I don't know, or sort of give them a sort of bonus, sort of plead them. I'm not sure. Look, Maureen, we're running short of time, unfortunately, but just because you've done such amazing work in this space, I'd like to now ask you some areas of advice from you that you could give to other youth who are eager to create change in their communities. Do you have any major pointers that you could share with us?
Yes. The first one would be, the first step is for you to identify an area that makes you really angry. When you sit back and look at society or look at your community, what area makes you really angry? And that area that makes you really angry is what I think should be the area in which you will focus on creating change. Because if it makes you angry, it will even give you more drive, and it will give you more drive towards changing what you're already seeing. And the other thing is to start. Often we wait until we have the very clearest of our vision so that we're able to see even our end goal. But this tends to slow us down, and we tend to see, look, I can't even see very clearly where I want to go. But as long as if you have a direction of where you want to go, just start. Also, you get to learn as you're on the way. So do not wait for you to have everything that you require. Just start, and somehow you will learn on the way, and you'll be able to achieve the change that you want to see. The two things, identify what makes you angry, and once you have just a small idea of where you want to get, just start. And I mean, the world needs us. The world needs that one person who is saying. And the other thing, there's nothing that is very small. It might look very small to you, but it's a problem. So if you are the change you want to see.
If you'd like to know more about Global Changemakers and our mission of enabling youth to create a positive impact in their communities, you can visit our website at global-changemakers.net or follow us on social media at WeAreGCM. And if you'd like to support us further, go check out our Patreon page at Global Changemakers and help us have a greater impact. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Young Changemakers. See you next Tuesday.